We are officially back in recruiting flip season.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we're going to be talking about recruiting flips, class of 26, and class of 27 also has some big-time players that have committed. Watch out for Alabama. We'll get into that, and we're also going to talk about something that's very important. We've got 4 schools that have already fired their coach. There are 30-day windows that we have to discuss for each of those schools that have players leave. So even if those schools, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, UCLA, even if they haven't seen a bunch of players hit the portal yet, it's still possible. I want to talk about why that's so important. And in conjunction with that, this is a new year. They're voting on, and it's expected to pass rather easily, for one portal window. Yes, just one portal window. The projected dates, although this could change, January 2nd through the 16th. No spring window, which means everybody's got to go all in and guess, because they don't go through spring practice first to see what they've got. This portal season coming up is going to be literally the wildest one yet. But let's start off with the key here. It is flip season. J.J. Bush has flipped. Arkansas, they're one of the programs that are going through a lot of upheaval with the firing of their head coach. J.J. Bush from Theodore, Alabama, has pledged to Arkansas, decommitted, and now changed his commitment to the Missouri Tigers. Really good linebacker. LSU wanted him. They thought they were going to get him originally, but now Mizzou gets him. Mizzou's winning on the field. It absolutely matters. They've got real NIL. They're a competitive team in the SEC. They have a chance, especially with Bama coming up. That game is massive. If Mizzou wins against Bama, and that's a big if, that could change their recruiting game. That game's in Columbia. Let's see how that goes. But they just got J.J. Bush. Again, they've got good NIL. They've got a good program. This is a big weekend for the Missouri Tigers. I think it's really fun to talk about them because not enough people do. And I think that the entire staff there has done a great job. Do not be surprised if Missouri ends up with the top 15 recruiting class and flips some guys we're not even talking about now. They can beat Bama, make it to the SEC title, prove they are a true contender. Why not Missouri? It's absolutely possible. And carrying that SEC moniker, putting that patch on your jersey, on that polo that the coaches wear around, that matters too. Antoine Baker, speaking of the Southeastern Conference, Vandy goes into LBJ High School down in Austin and gets a good corner. Vanderbilt, I know they lost to Alabama, but let's give them a little credit too. They're going around and picking off some pretty good players around the country. This is something I didn't see. Clark Lee did a nice job at Notre Dame as defensive coordinator. He's a Vandy grad. He played football at Vanderbilt. But did you really think they were going to be able to move the program up like this? And I fully understand the whole Diego Pavia commentary. But even without him, their roster is a lot better than it was. It's more well coached across the board than I've ever seen it be. And above all else, the players believe. So when they bring young men onto campus, it's easier to sell it. Getting kids from Texas is not exactly a Vandy strong suit. Getting a kid out of Austin where everybody recruits, not exactly a Vandy strong suit. Now, this wasn't a 5-star kid. He's a 3-star recruit. But that doesn't mean Texas and Baylor and Texas Tech, et cetera, weren't kicking the tires. Him committing to Vandy is just another sign that that's a program that's going to be around for a while. As long as Clark Lee is the head coach at Vanderbilt, they've got a chance to be good. Give them credit. They absolutely deserve it. So hats off to the Commodores. Braden Allen, Oklahoma Sooners get the former Tulane commit. He's out of a very good program in the state of Louisiana. Lafayette Christian Academy has just been a machine forever. Jawan Johnson, the backup running back at LSU, played quarterback and defensive back. Went to LSU to play DB. They moved him to running back. He can play whatever you want. He's a microcosm of that program. They've had defensive linemen go to LSU and a whole bunch of other programs. That's a really good good school to recruit from. Good job by Oklahoma, too, dipping into an area they don't get a lot of players, but they've always done a little bit of work down in Louisiana. But getting this kid an hour away from LSU, I'm kind of surprised LSU didn't offer him. I think he's pretty good. 6'1", 170-some pounds. He can really run. Oklahoma trying to ramp back up their wide receiver room. This is going to help them quite a bit. Now let's talk about 27. And I simply put in my notes 2 words and a question mark. It begins. And what I mean by that is we're not just seeing a few kids commit. We're seeing some really good players commit. Really good. And defying the ointment, again, is Texas Tech. We'll probably do a feature on them sometime in the next month or so. I need to see a little more before I go full on this. But they just got Jalen Brewster out of Cedar Hill, one of the best defensive players in the country, one of the best players, period, in the class of 27. Cedar Hill, for those who don't know, it's in the greater Dallas area, prominent program. They've always had good football around that area. And he's 6'3", 300 pounds. They got LaDainian Guyton, the kid from Savannah, Georgia, maybe the best player in the country, already committed. Yes, I get it. It's NIL induced, but you have to sell your program. And let's right now give credit to Texas Tech for the true number one reason they're getting some of these kids. They're winning. If they were sitting there with a 2-3 record right now, do you think that bag of money would matter? Probably not. Kids are not going to go play somewhere they know they're going to lose. Not the elite kids. It'd be different if it was somebody that only had like one P4 offer. You take what you can get. Brewster and Guyton, they can pick up the phone and call Kirby. They can pick up the phone, call Mario Cristobal. They can pick up the phone, call Ryan Day, etc. They'd have spots. Texas Tech is winning. Combined with the NIL is why they're getting not just good players, but elite. And they're getting elite defensive line. Right now, they're as sure a bet as Ohio State, really, to make the playoffs moving forward. And I know it's a different league, but they're going to run roughshod over the Big 12 unless something changes. Yes, I said run roughshod. The one thing that I've always complained about the Big 12, they just don't have the D-line. Well, Texas Tech's making up for that and more at one school. Look out for the Red Raiders. We got Nash Johnson going to Bama. Nash Johnson III, McEachern High School, really good program on the northwest side of Atlanta. They've had players for years. This kid's going to Bama. They took him early. I need to go check him out. I didn't know much about him. Then I saw Bama got him a few days ago. That's a good sign. Bama doesn't take kids early just for the heck of it. Atlanta area player going against really good competition. They play North Cobb and several other schools. They've got talent. Watch out for this kid. He's committed to Bama. And on that note, Jatori Williams is a kid that committed to Bama. I saw him recently. He's at Phoenix City Central, prominent program here in the state of Alabama, where I live. That is one of the best-looking offensive tackles on the hoof that I've seen in the last several years. Big hips, powerful, can bend, can move in space. He's raw, but my goodness, he is what you expect from a prospect that ends up committing early to the University of Alabama. Really talented. Also, quarterback news. This is an early one. Don't see this every day. Keegan Croucher, quarterback out of Cheshire Academy up in the Northeast. He is headed to Ole Miss. Speaking of winning, just like I said with Missouri, just like I said with Vandy, and of course, Bama is going on their little run. I'll talk about that in a second too. But Keegan Croucher is going to Ole Miss. They're top 5 in the country. It matters when you win. Everybody has some kind of NIL, winning and development. Am I going to go somewhere and get better? I think it's proven that Wayne Kiffin understands how to coach quarterbacks. But more importantly, he's coaching quarterbacks now, and the team is better, and they're winning. Ole Miss is going to win more recruiting battles moving forward because of what they're showing on the field. Outside of building relationships with players, that's probably the second most important thing. Ole Miss has earned it. They've absolutely earned it. Now my point on Alabama. With Bama and the Missouri game, that's a really important game. If Bama wins that, my prediction is they'll finish at worst 10-2 in the regular season, go on to the playoff, probably do pretty well. Who knows? Maybe they win it. It's possible. The point is, I expect them to go on a recruiting run. They've kind of stemmed off the negatives from the game against Florida State, and they've gotten a lot better. Do not be surprised. They just got a couple of 27 kids if they add a few more really good players in the class of 26. I see it coming. In addition to that, portal. There are going to be players that want to be a part of that offense, especially. I don't know about the defense. It's been a little underwhelming considering their talent. I think they can play better, especially in the front seven. Clay Russaw being out doesn't help them. But still, that offense, this coming portal season, I expect Alabama to be a destination place. Watch out for them in this stretch run. 27 kids too. But then in the portal, watch out for the Alabama Crimson Tide. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the difference with the portal situation. 2026, that portal window, when it comes open in early January, this is your one shot. If you don't figure it out, you're in trouble because after spring, there's nobody coming to help you out of the portal. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Mazda, who crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same attention to detail, and it's how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can also make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. Like our players, we sweat all the details, and because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda. Move and be moved. We are also brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts, and they don't even know what they're really worth, and that's up to all kinds of different things that you could have going on with 401ks, your properties, your investments, and when you don't have the full picture of your finances, you can end up leaving a whole lot of money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal financial tool that brings you the financial lifestyle that you need in one easy, clean-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. Don't put it off, because if you don't get everything set and organized, it can be a problem, but Monarch can help you get taken care of. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money. So instead of not really knowing where everything's at, it's in one place, and you can check it anytime you want, right there on your phone, your tablet, or your computer with Monarch Money. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off at monarchmoney.com in your first year with code LOCKEDONCollege. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Just to make this very clear, the next month is really, really important for the portal. Two things to check before I go into the details regarding how the portal is going to be completely different this year in the offseason. Number one, the four schools: Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, UCLA, and Arkansas. It's individualized. Whenever, like, let's just use Arkansas as an example. When Sam Pittman was fired, the 30-day window begins for those players at the University of Arkansas. If they didn't hit the portal yet, that's their prerogative. But that doesn't mean they aren't looking. That doesn't mean they're not having conversations in the back channels. By the end of that 30-day window, how many will leave Arkansas? I have no idea. But my guess is it's going to be quite a few. They are really bad. The leadership there, the apathy that you could see, like, even before the Notre Dame game, there were moments you're like, are they really playing hard? The Memphis game, for me, it kind of showed. And then against Notre Dame, it was just full-on quit mode for some of those guys. I think you're going to see a lot of them get in the portal. But, I mean, maybe it's not that way everywhere, because Virginia Tech went on the road and beat NC State. Like, some teams are still playing hard. Maybe they don't have as many guys that want to leave. Maybe they're more bought into being at Virginia Tech. Hard to say. Look at UCLA. They turned around and beat Penn State. So the first way you look at that, hey, these guys want to be here. But there's a second part. If you play well, you also open up yourself to new opportunity. So when there is a new coach hired, UCLA, Virginia Tech, etc., if you don't fit that scheme or you don't like that person, and there's not a fit, you've got good film. It would behoove the players at all of those schools, Arkansas, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, UCLA, to go out and play well so you can transfer. You want to have good film. To that point, right now, out of all the schools, it may surprise some, Oklahoma State's even worse than Arkansas. Especially defensively, I don't think you're going to see a lot of those guys get opportunities. They're counting their checks that they're getting in NIL, and I don't think they're counting much else. We're going to see some guys that probably thought they had more value not end up there and may end up having to transfer down. They're playing really bad, and the effort is pretty sad. UCLA and Virginia Tech players, there could be some opportunities. Now on to the big news for the offseason. They're voting on this, but it's expected to pass. There's only going to be one portal window. January 2nd through the 16th is the dates that I've heard. If that is what comes about, 2 points from that. Number one, obviously, you only get one window. It's 15 days. But more importantly to me, it's not after spring. Remember last spring practice when everybody suddenly didn't want their spring football game on ESPN or any local networks? Why was that? Because they knew everybody was scouting their players, especially the up-and-coming guys with multiple years of eligibility. I had an SEC coach tell me to my face they didn't want their spring game on TV. Flat out. And he said the reason was he didn't want people watching his players trying to scoop them up for their own roster somewhere else. So we'll see spring games again. That's fun. But you have to guess, especially let's just use this as an example. Miami. Carson Beck has been a really good quarterback. But this is his last year. Who does Miami take? Do they go in the portal? There are tons of teams in that boat. Maybe they've got a guy like Miami's got Emory Williams, who's played some. Do you go all in with him or do you go into the portal and guess? Everybody's going to have to guess. It's kind of old school. You got to recruit right. You make some judgments in the portal. That's the new part of the equation. But there is no see spring ball, make a complete evaluation, and then the portal opens. Those days are over, at least if the vote goes through as expected. So with that being said, we're going to see the second part of my point here. Not just guys go all in financially, but teams that think they have a chance to make a run, try to buy up everything and limit resources for other teams. Oregon, Miami, Texas, Ohio State, maybe Tennessee, if Joey Aguirre comes back. If somebody gets, I'm going to throw this out. Avery Johnson at Kansas State, do we really expect him to stay for what looks to be pretty much a dumpster fire? Like, can you imagine what Avery Johnson will command on the open market? He had like 70-some yards rushing against Baylor, over 340 passing yards. Somebody gets him, you're going to want players around him at every spot. We're going to see some serious overspending by some teams. Maybe Texas Tech will be in that again. I would expect so. We'll find out. But this is going to be a wild transfer portal year. Absolutely wild. It's the first year they're only going to have one window. Teams are going to panic, especially if you've got a special quarterback or you already know you're getting a portal quarterback. And believe me, that goes on at this point too. You're going to see some crazy spending. And you're also going to see some teams, quote unquote, take themselves back. What that means is if they don't have the money and or they just lost too many players, they might save the money, play their younger guys for this upcoming season in 2026. And then in the next winter window, you go after it with a bunch of starters and you just try to fill in some holes. It's going to be kind of like NFL free agency or the NBA free agent market. Who's a buyer? Who's a seller? This is going to be wild. I'm kind of honestly curious about it. It's in a really crazy way, but this portal offseason is absolutely going to be crazy. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of these all the way through the playoff time with all the stuff going on in the portal. We got National Signing Day in early December. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll see you again soon here on the Portal Podcast.